What's going on, guys? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day today. And today I want to talk about earnings actually, and how you guys can use the power of earnings, what's said in the earnings report, what analysts say afterwards, and use your levels, use the flow in order to get in and take advantage of a trade. Unfortunately, I didn't trade Lulu, but the levels that I gave on it was go long over 374. And I'm going to talk about why that is. Later on, I looked at the earnings report. Originally, I knew the earnings was good and I had a positive reaction to it simply because once the earnings came out, we came up and we hit this resistance point. So I had this 374 area as a resistance area on it. All right, now if we look at the daily, we can see that we have this resistance areas right here at this 350, but obviously the earnings really pushed it up, and in the pre-market brought it right around this 371 area, right? So this 371 area was when we're seeing that resistance kind of come in. The 374 was the pre-market high, and once that pre-market high kind of broke out is when really things started getting interesting. All right, now if you had this on your watch list and you were aware of the type of earnings that they showed, you could have known a few things here. All right, so some things to look at when you're looking at earnings report. First of all, was it a EPS beat? Right, in this regards, they had a reported better than expected Q4 EPS result, and also they have a guidance. They raised their guidance above estimates. All right, now the most important thing here to take into consideration is this buyback. All right, there's a 1 billion buyback. Again, I didn't look at this in the pre-market. I was just trading levels. But if you were somebody that was simply trading Lulu based on the big move it had, you had your levels, you could have looked at the news on it and you could have saw this. Now the next thing to note is that B of A comes out with a 450 price target when the stock is sitting at around 373, 374. All right, great. All that is said, but the market opens and this thing kind of yanks down. All right, it yanks down. If you're paying attention and looking at the flow, you can see that as soon as on this yank down to this 945 area, they started really hammering these short-term calls. Take a look at what they were going after here. They're buying all these short-term calls here, and they're really just hammering away at these calls early on this dip. All right, great. This dip came up. We came to that trigger point of 374. At this point, you should have done some research on the stock to understand what the report was, what the earnings was. But the most important thing here is when the market yanked today, Lulu did not move at all. It stayed very strong and it held these 20 moving averages, right? That should have been your cue. You have a buyback of 1 billion, you have raised guidance, you have an EPS beat, you have an analyst upgrade coming in going to 450 on it, you have the flow, and take a look at what really happens here. Once we kind of get above this resistance of this 374 level, it really just takes off, right? Let's take a look at what happens later on. If we go over, look at this, just a straight move up here, but the market's actually sitting at the lower half of the day right now. All right, so lots of things to take into consideration here. You had the pre-market levels, you had the earnings report, the buyback, you had the analyst upgrades, you had the flow early morning. They came in and they really started buying at these dips right here, and they really pushed it up, but you had a game plan. Your trigger was 374 simply because above that on the daily there was really nothing else. Above this 371 level, you're pushing up to the 384, which is the 200 moving average. That should have been your only resistance point here. All right, so obviously very good trade. If you guys got involved in this, congratulations. If you paid attention to the buybacks are usually very bullish on earning reports, so always take that into consideration. Put everything together, your patterns, your flow, your news, your analysts. That way you get that confirmation and that confidence to kind of hold on, have a game plan, and take the trade. All right, guys, hopefully you found value in this. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button and retweet and share this with somebody that you think will find value in it. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.